Welcome to Scaling with People, your weekly playbook for turning chaos into compounding growth. Each week, we go under the hood with battle-tested experts in all areas of business, from marketing to sales, operation, finance, and people, plus product and leadership, to unpack the plays, numbers, and systems that turn chaos into compounding growth. Learn straight from founders and experts who've done it and continue to do it successfully. There's zero fluff, just moves that you can steal immediately. This podcast is brought to you by Guide to HR, human expertise, AI-powered impact. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today on Scaling with People podcast. I'm Guinevere Curry, your host and founder to Guide to HR. So what if the secret to scaling your startup isn't more people and more funding, but fewer wasted steps? On today's episode, we're joined by Lorraine Armijos, a powerhouse in lean and process improvement, who's here to provide that streamlined systems aren't just for manufacturing. They're your startup unfair advantage. From strategy that cuts the fluff to people development that actually sticks. Lorraine breaks down how continuous improvement thinking can build teams that hum and businesses that scale without the chaos. Let's get efficient, founders. All right, Lorraine, I'm so excited to have you on the call today. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes. Hi, Guinevere. Thank you so much for having me today. So my name is Lorraine Armijos, and I am the founder of LAR Insights. I'm an executive coach and a business consultant. The clients that come to me are feeling depleted, they're misaligned, they're feeling stuck, and it's stuck between their operational needs, demands, and their employee needs. And what I do is I go in, I help develop leaders, and then I set in a proven structure that helps align purpose, operations, and people. And part of this structure is strategy, it's process improvement, and it's a system that helps everyone at every tier of the organization to feel empowered, feel that they can own the work and solve the problems. And so ultimately you get a place where leaders feel confident, teams are collaborating with each other, and a workplace that people and business can thrive.
I love it. Okay, so I'm all about process improvements. The people that know me know I'm just like, I'm hounding them. We finish a process and 2 days later, I'm like, how can we improve it again, right? So let's start with the bigger picture. When you walk into a company that's growing fast, but they're starting to feel the cracks, maybe even a little stuck, what's the first sign that they need to start thinking through the lens of a continuous improvement?
So I would say the moment that you start a business is the time when you need to start thinking of continuous improvement, because change is always happening. Most of us live in this delusional world that things will stay the same, but they don't. They never do, right?
No.
We want it,
except for taxes, right?
Yes.
And the other word that starts with a D we don't want to talk about.
Yes. And so we always want to have this continuous improvement mindset, because we as businesses and as leaders, we want to be nimble and be able to flex as change comes in. So literally from the beginning of creating that organization.
Okay. So I'm thinking as the founder, okay, I got to start building things first before I start thinking about how to improve them. But I understand the thought of like having that continuous improvement in my mindset. Maybe that's even why I built this business, was to improve the industry or improve a product or services for someone. And now I'm starting to grow, got a couple people, maybe a couple dozen people under me. What is the first step? What is it that a founder could be like, aha, I got it. This is where we're getting stuck, or this is where we're struggling, or that we've fallen down. This is where I need to put on my continuous improvement hat and work through the problem.
Yeah. And so once you start getting the people, is putting the ownership back on them. Because what happens is usually businesses are growing, right? You have leaders putting in the processes, and then we forget that the people are the ones, right? The frontline team are the ones who are either making the product or giving that service. And so when you think about continuous improvement, is at some point, right? You're giving the example of an entrepreneur growing their company, is putting it back on the people. And so one of the things that I said in this structure that I mentioned earlier are huddles, our daily huddles. Because what we want is we want a company to have the platform for the frontline team to be able to communicate, like, what do they need to be successful for the day? So that's one piece, right? It's like, what do they need? And so you have other companies call it a stand-up huddles, but you want it daily so you can hear their voices, see where they're at, and also give them, what they need to know to be successful. And then on the other side, you also want to have a problem-solving huddle where the team can start solving their own problems, right? As a leader, you give them what their goals are, but they are the experts because they're doing it day in and day out. And so you now are giving them also this place where they can talk about the problems that are getting in the way to their own success and the success of your business. And then they're coming up with solutions. And that can be very transformative for any organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people that are living it, stuck in it day to day, they likely have what good looks like. And all you need to do is ask.
100%. Yes.
They're not looking for you to give them an answer. They're looking for you to let them give their answer a shot and make improvements.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And as a leader, imagine going from, telling, or answering 1,000 questions every day to having your team really owning it and problem solving together.
Wow. I could just imagine like that breath that the CEO and the other leaders would be getting to then execute in their role and continue to grow and lead the business forward. So
Yes.
that's the high level. Let's just like jump in and let's talk about an example. Could you share an example of when you came into one of your clients' organizations? What was a high level the problem and how did this process help them break through?
Yes. And so I had a client who felt, right, once again, this stuck, right? How do I grow? My team is growing and I want to continuously grow my organization. How do I start building some structure around this? And one of the first things that I did was having them have daily huddles as the leadership team. And the leadership team being supervisors, managers, directors, vice president, and CEO. So on a daily basis, they started having these 5 to 10 minute huddles to identify where they are and what do they need. And what they started seeing is alignment across all the different departments. And they started talking about their problems also. And what ended up happening is that not only were they seeing value there, but then my next step is always like, okay, now let's start frontline. But I was so excited to hear that they started their own huddles at the front line, because that could be the hardest thing, because you have frontline people who have been doing work forever and they don't want to stop doing their work. But they had seen such success and alignment within the leadership team that they went ahead and started doing it on the front lines. They wanted to do it. They started seeing progress, and the leaders were able to understand what are the barriers that the frontline team faces and support them appropriately.
What was like the outcome? Like, fast forward 6 months, 12 months later, how did that actually bring ROI to the business?
You start seeing your goal, you start meeting your goals. Because the other piece that is embedded in the structure is understanding what success looks like at every level of the organization, right? Because what happens is sometimes, let's just say, I've been working in the healthcare industry for a long time. And so one of them, let's say it's patient satisfaction, right? And so patient satisfaction may be at the top, but as you go down each level, every tier or level owns something different within patient satisfaction, right? And so when you end up to the front line, they don't own all of the patient satisfaction questions that you answer. They may own or want to work on one small piece, right? Because you can't solve all the problems, but you need to start with one little piece. And so when you start solving one piece at a time, now you start seeing not only the frontline is being successful, but the whole organization is starting to meet the goals. So
Yeah.
that is the true, you're able to see with metrics how you are improving.
And I feel like too, that also falls into employee satisfaction, engagement, lower retention.
Yes. Whenever people feel heard, right? They have more buy-in because they are seeing, oh, not only am I being heard, but I'm able to make a difference.
You feel valued. Like you actually
Yes.
are saying, this needs to be fixed. Here's my solution. Oh, go do it. Great. Here's the outcome. This is awesome. You do it again and you repeat because everyone loves to be praised that they're bringing value to the company.
And also, one of the things that I always tell the leaders that I support is that if that doesn't work, let's celebrate it also, right? Because
You
because
tried.
it's yeah, exactly. You tried, and now let's help them, with the next step. And
I
so
think that is so key. I've been in many cultures working with founders, and they don't celebrate the misses. And not meaning like, oh, isn't this great that we missed it, but more of like, isn't this awesome that this person had a hypothesis or had a thought process that we could improve in this area? So we gave it a shot. It's unfortunate that it didn't actually improve the way we thought it would, but it was awesome that they came to the table with this idea and we tried it. Bring
yes.
more ideas to the table because not everyone's gonna, it's like kind of like the basketball. Like you shoot for the basket, you're not always gonna get it. Maybe 9 out of 10 you do, but that one time, let's also still learn from that.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. What did you learn from it, right? And usually what happens in the process that I won't walk through teams is what did you learn from it? And then what small tweak can we do from that experiment that didn't work? And
Yeah.
so um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So at the beginning, you talked about you break down lean for your clients as strategy, process, and people. And most founders, including myself, I think too, we just jump straight to the process. But why is that a mistake? Like, what are the assumptions that we, as founders, make if we jump to the process and we don't look at the strategy and the people along with it?
Yeah, and so the first is the why, right? And I think that founders usually are very clear with their why because they started it. But it's really to understand and share with the team of what problem are you trying to solve, right?
Yes.
Why
What are your pain
this,
points?
yeah, what are your pain points? Why does this business exist? And what are the long-term goals? So first is really being clear about that and being able to share to everyone and anyone in a very simple way of explaining it. It's not getting caught up with all the jargon that sometimes we get caught up in. So that's the first is the what are we trying to solve, and then the next thing is the processes within the operations, and the next step is the process or the operations, and the reason you don't want to just go in and solve it, which is what we all do usually, is like, I have an idea, go in and solve, is that you don't want to solve the wrong problem
Yeah.
or just
Or
fix something that doesn't
misunderstand what that
exist.
problem. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so with lean, which is the structure that I put in, it's about really understanding what the problem is is doing your homework, is going out and observe, not only collecting data. I think data is important, but also going to see, ask questions to the team, and really put this together and understand the problem to then be able to solve.
You're kind of doing a root cause analysis.
That is part of it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that is
Yeah.
part of it. And if I may, let me just backtrack a little for your listeners about what lean is. So
Yeah.
Lean was developed by Toyota. And in the simplest form, Lean is about creating value to the customer by eliminating waste, improving processes, and empowering the team. And so that is the structure that I use when I go into companies to align their purpose, operations, and people. And Lean has a lot of jargony words. And so I try with my clients to minimize it as much as possible and to really understand what they are trying to solve so I can tailor it to their needs.
I love that. Yeah, I was also thinking like I'm such an AI junkie. I was thinking it's like the pre-AI, the non-tech AI of, like AI is all about making things lean, more efficient, workflow, simplify your workflow, take off the admin steps. Maybe you still need those steps, but now you can have AI do it. You're also coming in and saying, hey, you don't need these 10 steps when 5 of them will do.
Yes. And and that's exactly another reason why you don't want to just solve a problem without really understanding it, because what you may be doing, you may be adding extra steps to a process. And so what I always say is let's make sure that this is really solving your problem. Otherwise, let's scrap it. I mean, the last thing you want to do is add more work to people who, who already need more time to complete it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially if you want to try to streamline your process so you can move faster as a business. Maybe you need to push the deadline so you get your product out sooner. Maybe your sales team promised something to your customer and now you got to execute on it. And if you have 10 less steps, that helps you be able to make that happen and continue growing and improving your own business. All right, I got a tricky question for you now.
Uh-oh. Okay.
What is one process improvement, fad, or misconception that drives you crazy? And what should a founder be doing instead? And if you don't have an answer,
It's
it's okay.
no, it's I think we talked about it, is the jumping in. I think that what happens is leaders get into these positions because they have been so good at solving problems. And so when I go in, I'm asking everyone to slow down.
Mm,
And that can be frustrating. But at the end of the day, it's very eye-opening when they start seeing the results, because
yeah,
you are able to now really understand the problem and solve it in a permanent way,
yeah,
versus what happens is people are solving things so fast and then the problem comes back again, comes back again, comes back again. And so if any of your listeners have that where the problem is back and you're like, but I thought we solved it, I would challenge them to look deeper and say, did I really know what the problem was? And really
yeah.
take time to understand it before solving it.
Yeah, absolutely. They might have solved it, at the 10,000 foot level,
Mm-hmm.
but it still hurts for the people on the ground because you've only solved it at that 10,000 foot. Now you got to okay, you got to go down again, going back to that root cause analysis. You can come up with the solution, but if it actually doesn't deal with the root of the issue, it's just going to come back. I literally just de-weeded my lawn yesterday, my yard yesterday, and I didn't get all of the actual roots. And I know they're going to be coming back in a week or two, and it just frustrates me. And it's the same thing with business, right? Like you have to get the actual root in order for that weed not to fester in your business again.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would add to that is don't do it alone, because
Oh,
we're
yes.
so good at sitting in our offices and coming up with that and then going out and be like, I found it. So I would say don't do it alone, because you have the experts out there, which are the people who are doing the work. And so
Yeah.
find your team, find who are those people that you want to work with to help
Yeah.
solve those problems.
I love that. I have a CEO I work with who, when he's got a situation, he actually will tell his executive team, I'm bringing what I think is the problem. I do not want solutions at this conversation. I want us to think about it. I want us to dive into the data, dive into the mindset, look into this, and we will circle back at the end of the week to confirm if the data and the issue that I presented is accurate, is true. And if so, then we'll discuss solutions next week. If not, what is the problem? Let's talk about that. And then next week, we'll start thinking about solutions. And I think what is so powerful about that is it creates the space. First of all, it sets expectations, right? Of what is expected of the leaders to do. Their CEO is bringing a problem to them. Like you said earlier, if you're an executive, you're probably there because you are a good problem solver. But it gives them that space of I don't even want you to go into that mindset. I want you to be open and hear about this problem. Let's talk about it. Let's dive into it. Let's consume it. Let's sit in it for a minute. And then let's validate it. come back and make sure that this is the problem, and then we'll deal with it next week. And I just, that permission and that expectations, it just sets such a good structure for everyone to be in a different mindset before he even shows what the problem is.
I love that. Number one, because he is thinking of the long term, right, versus the short term. And also, I hope his team knows that he is developing them by doing that.
Oh, I love that. Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
Because he's giving them the time to think deeper, right? And he is teaching them a process of looking through these problems that not many CEOs do that. Right? CEOs are looking sometimes for immediate results, right?
True.
But he or she, I think you said he. He's really taking the time. He's developing them and thinking of the long term. So I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'll have to tell him this. Make sure he watches this one.
Yes. Yeah, have his whole team watch it.
Exactly. Well, Lorraine, this has been a fun topic. I definitely love it. One of my background histories of process improvement is I remember building charts and Gantt charts basically, and saying like, well, this happens, then this happens, or that happens. And then I remember first couple ones, it was like 5 or 6 pages. I would take it to my manager, be like, this is ridiculous. Can't we simplify? And she's like, yeah, go figure it out. And I'm like, okay. And I became known as the process improvement queen in my 20s because I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't need 40 steps when 20 will do, right? So this is my jam. I totally love it. We could be talking about it all day long. But as we wrap up here, is there any last final thoughts, tips, or tricks you'd like to share with the audience today?
So what I'd like to remind everyone, we already talked about this, but to all your listeners, to slow down. And I am asking you the opposite of what probably you're being told, but slow down to ensure that you're solving the right problem. And don't forget that the heart of your business is your people. And, ask them and involve them in problem solving.
I love that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard and also say, to go fast, you slow down to go fast, right? Like, because if you slow down and you make the right direction change and then you go fast, you're way ahead of if you go fast and then you're like, oh, I got to back up. I missed that exit. Now I got to turn around. And now you're like 2 months behind if you had just let yourself have 2 days or 2 weeks, whatever the situation might be. Well, Lorraine, thanks so much for joining us today. How can our audience get in touch with you? We'll put all the links down and into the description, but just a quick shout out.
Yes, so they can reach me at larinsights.com/HR. I'm going to have for your listeners some tools for them to be able to use.
We love freebies.
Yes.
Awesome. We'll put the link in the description. And thanks again for joining us. And for the audience, thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you on the next podcast. Have a great one. That's a wrap for today's episode of Scaling with People. If you got value from this conversation, do me a favor, share it with someone building something big. And hey, I'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment, shoot me a message, or start a conversation. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the bold, unfiltered strategies we drop every week. I'm Guinevere Query, founder and CEO of Guide to HR, where we help high-growth companies scale smart with people-first strategies and AI-powered systems that don't just keep up, they lead. If you're building fast and want your HR to move faster, head to guidetohr.com and let's talk. And remember, scale isn't just about speed, it's about people. Until next time, have a great one.